Hey, you guys, and welcome to American Culture. So, I'm going to do things a little bit differently today. Today, I'm going to start with telling you the lesson that I learned, and then I'm going to tell you how I learned it. You see, I was in the Uber today, and I learned the lesson of first impressions, they really, really matter, and to also pay attention to the rules and regulations that naturally guide your life. They're there for a reason to kind of help keep you in line. You see, like I said, I was getting off work and I take an Uber there and back and so forth. And it said that I had 2 minutes left, so I left the house. Now, the thing is, with my particular job, I have to be near this little sensor thing to clock out. Medicare doesn't like it if you leave, and, it's fraud. So I go ahead and I clock out and I go outside only to see him stop at a gas station. And not just any gas station, you guys, Costco. And if you are in America, you understand that Costco and Sam's Club, those people, they are their own breed of people. They have to stop every single time there's a gas station and get gas. And those lines are horrendous. It's something psychological. And so I'm like, oh, no, he didn't. Because Costco's are few and far between. Say that he's near one, he's going to stop and get gas and get over here. So I send him a text message. I'm like, are you coming? And I didn't hear anything. So, of course, like a minute later, I call him and he answers and he says he's getting gas. He's at the pump and he's on his way. And I'm like, okay. So, about 3, 4 minutes later, after I've been outside for like 10, um, he shows up. And so, the first thing that he asked me is, of course, am I Ubering back and forth? And, offers to give me rides on the side. And normally, when they do that, I just take their number, but I've never like taken anybody up on that. I've just kind of been like, okay, thanks. But I was irritated. So he was playing his music and we were driving along and then suddenly the music stopped and he changes to church music and I know that I can say something because I'm seething. And normally I wouldn't tell like a random stranger do anything like confrontational. That's the word. I don't know why I was thinking of something else. I wouldn't do something so confrontational. I wouldn't be like, why did you do that? But I just compelled. I said his name. And I said, why did you go to Costco? I need to know Costco. And he was like, I needed gas. And I explained to him my feelings and my sentiments about that. And he was like, no, he really needed gas. And that, it wasn't just he wanted to stop. And then I asked him, why didn't you just like send me a message and say, hey, I got to stop and get gas. Is that all right with you? If not, I can go ahead, cancel, send you somebody else. I would have been perfectly fine with that because I'm still in the house getting paid and not outside freezing my tail off because it's like 50 degrees in Florida and that's cold for us. And he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and he apologized. We ended up having like a really, really good, cohesive conversation. And where I am in my life, it's nice to meet men like that. And unfortunately, the first impression kind of ruined it. Because, like I said, if he had just sent me that message or whatever when I got in the car, he gave me his number to give the rides back. I'd probably be talking to him right now because that later conversation was so good, and not you guys. But um, like I said, just the situational awareness is in the first impression not being there is what got it off. And when I was telling you guys earlier, the second lesson was being aware of the rules that are naturally in your life. They're there to help you be prepared for those life changing moments when you meet the people that you're supposed to meet when the opportunity does present itself. The app has rules. If you got to get gas and you stop using it for a little bit, don't accept a ride and do that. It also has rules to not, give your number out on the side and stuff like that, which is the reason why I don't take them up on those offers, you guys. Um, but you have to be mindful of the things that are already in place to kind of help you stay in alignment with what you want, which is always a favorable outcome. So yeah, that was pretty interesting. Like I say, I do see the different quality of human beings that I am meeting, but I'm still at that space where I'm meeting a lot of negative old behaviors of myself and really seeing, okay, this is why I don't deal with that anymore. Because that was one of the things that we talked about was just communication is key. I'll tell you guys, and this goes into the frequency conversation I'll have to have with you tomorrow. I was talking to somebody else. I just got off the phone with them about this. Communication is like the little knob that changes the dial, but everybody's on their own frequency. So there are people out there that will hear what I'm saying right now and totally be able to relate to it. I understand why you were upset, blah, 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 blah. And there are some people who are like, nah, there's nothing, da, 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 all this other stuff. But it's just because we're on different frequencies, like radio stations. And some radio stations, they're playing German. And I was telling him, like, when you're trying to communicate, especially like with a female, um, we might not always be on the same radio station. So it doesn't really matter what you're saying or trying to get us to do if we can't comprehend it. That's when communication becomes so crucial. And it's kind of like I said, the knob that helps you guys get on the same page. And that's what I was telling the little Lyft Uber driver. What I think it was a Lyft I used today. I'm sorry if I said Uber. I'm so used to that one. Um, but that's what I was telling him. He should have just sent me a message. He told me he tried and something was technological, and I told him I accept his apology. And I apologize for getting irritated. Whether that's true or not, who cares? But simple communication would have drastically changed the whole atmosphere, and even maybe um, things that would have taken place later. And so it's important to always kind of like lead with that. If somebody else is involved in what I'm doing and they're expecting a certain structure that I can't quite uphold, then I need to be able to communicate that with them at all times. And it's not something that somebody needs to tell you to do, because I know with me being more accepting and more tolerant and things like that, you would say, well, if you just told them in that, fine. Yeah, it is if you've been in a certain type of situation. But like I say, it goes back to those guidelines, rules, and regulations being in place. If you have all these things in place that are saying don't do that, I shouldn't have to tell you not to do that too. And so those are character things that have to be worked over. Now, don't get me wrong, you're going to constantly run into character issues with your significant other. It's just that's life. It's never going to not happen. But you do also need to be able to say, oh, okay, thank you for pointing that out. I'll make the shift over and change. And obviously, knowing this person for 20, 30 minutes wasn't going to allow us to have that type of bond, or yeah, I guess, or interaction. So, yeah, I learned today that you definitely have to be on your A game. Those rules and regulations are there for a reason. Nobody is going to want to have to tell you how to do something if you've already have a thousand things telling you how to do it to begin with. It just kind of turns them off to a certain extent. It no longer puts you on their frequency. So you got to be mindful of that, especially if you are trying to open yourself up to what you want. You have to be aligned with it, following the rules in order to get there. Have a blessed day, you guys.